Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Wednesdays, wherever you may be across the country. I had to pause there for a minute and think about what day it was. I am still down in Florida planning on going out to dinner for a 10th straight day. Don't worry, I'm tipping well, trying to keep the economy roaring as best I can by helping to get restaurants back up on their feet. I am voting with my wallet. I am voting with my hand. I would encourage you guys who are in states where it is also possible, if you are young and healthy, to do the same. Several different things that are important to get to, but I want to dive in here right off the top and talk about the big picture surrounding the coronavirus and how it's going to impact the world of sports. Right now, you have a clear delineation between states that are going to be welcoming and are trying to get back to business, and those which are going to continue to hold their people hostage. In Arizona and Florida, I think you have to give credit to both states. Arizona said yesterday that pro sports can begin in their states by Saturday. Okay, Arizona. Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis, the man that Peter King said was a day late and $40 short, just extended an open palm to the rest of the country to say, hey, if your state won't allow pro sports to occur there, we can find a space for you here, which is an incredibly powerful message. Props to both Florida and Arizona. And in particular, their response was directed at California, which is behaving in an utterly absurd fashion that is completely unjustified by any measures of data at all. And so if you go look right now, the state of California has lost its mind. And if I were running a pro sports franchise in California, MLB, MLS, NBA, NFL, whatever it is, I would be looking to be located elsewhere to be able to play my season this fall or this summer. It is an insanely dumb decision that they have made in California that is hampering their economy in a major way. And so I know there's a lot of people in California who agree with me of all different political persuasions, because I know it's easy to just focus on Democrat and Republican, but I tend to think this is broken down between the logical and the rational versus the emotional. In an emotional fashion are behaving illogically because the data doesn't support any of the decisions that they are making. Let me give you an example. California schools just said the state colleges, that's different than the Cal colleges, state colleges more likely to be universities that are transitory or locally based. But they also have 3 Mountain West schools, San Diego State, Fresno State, and San Jose State. All of those schools have said they're going to be online only in the fall. Doesn't make any sense to make a decision in May about whether or not you're going to be online only. But let me explain something. The data does not in any way reflect that college kids are in danger. And I'm going to blow your mind with this stat. The odds of someone under 24 years old coronavirus are roughly akin to the odds of someone being struck by lightning. Again, I want to repeat that because a lot of you, your mind is blown when you hear that statistic. All right? Listen to me closely. You are in the same amount of danger from the coronavirus if you are under 24 years old, which is the vast majority of colleges in this country, as you are to be struck by lightning. This is 100% true comparing CDC data and data on who is being struck by lightning. That is insane. You don't shut down a college because some small number of people get killed or struck by lightning. Okay? So people say, well, what about the people who spread the virus? This is easy. If you look at the data, if you are under 65 years old, you have very minimal risk from the coronavirus if you are healthy. Presumably, just about everybody who is working on a college campus is under 65 years old and healthy. If colleges are employing people over the age of 60, 65 years old, and if they have lack of healthy factors in their life, the answer here is easy. Allow them to work from home for the fall semester. You don't need to shut down the entirety of the university. Moreover, there is no danger of overloading hospitals. All of the data, again, let me explain. There isn't a single person who has not received care in the entire country. No hospital has remotely come close to overloading. In fact, all of the added attributes that we brought to bear, the brand new field hospital at the University of Kentucky, the new field hospital at CenturyLink out in Seattle, the Javits Center Convention Center beds, the ship that we brought into New York Harbor. New York forecast they were going to need 140,000 beds. They ended up needing 19,000. All of the forecasts for hospital necessity have wildly overstated the numbers. Remember, we initially started to shelter in place to flatten the curve. The curve has been flattened. No hospital has been overrun. These are all facts. The data reflects, in fact, that more hospitals are close to bankruptcy than they are to being overloaded. Doctors are not being called into service. They're being furloughed. The same thing is true of nurses. We need to get back to regular hospital service, not continue to worry about overloading hospitals. You can talk to any number of doctors and nurses out there. Unless you work in the ER in a small number of places, or unless you work in the ICU, almost nowhere is overloaded. And this is continuing to happen. Let me give you an example. In my home state of Tennessee, Vanderbilt University said 5,000 people were potentially going to need to be treated for the coronavirus in the state of Tennessee. They just withdrew that recommendation and said, actually, the number of coronavirus victims in the patient is going to peak at 300. They said 5,000 at Vanderbilt University, where I am a double alum. The reality is 300 or less. In Georgia and Florida and Tennessee and Texas and Oklahoma, all of which are states, the number of cases is not exploding. In many cases, it's going down. Do you know why you're not hearing about that? Because they aren't negative stories. Fear porn, doom and gloom. This is what the media specializes in. If things had skyrocketed in Georgia, where it's now been 19 days since they opened up the state, they would be leading every newscast with the number of people that are in hospitals in Georgia. Instead, it's crickets. Same thing in Florida. Remember when everybody said, oh, Florida's going to be a disaster? It's like Italy on steroids. It's never happened. Same thing in Tennessee. Same thing in Texas. Same thing in Oklahoma. All of these states opened up. Should be good news. Hey, look at how these states are doing even after they opened up. Instead, the media has disappeared. No one is covering it. Right now, you're listening to me. You might be seeing my Twitter feed where I share the actual facts and the actual data. Nobody else is sharing it. It's vanished. As soon as it wasn't doom and gloom, as soon as it wasn't fear porn, the story disappeared. Nobody's talking about it. Remember all the people who told you that Georgia was going to be an unmitigated disaster? Remember all the people who said, oh, look at all these people on the beach in Jacksonville. Florida's going to fall apart. It's never happened. Never happened in Georgia. Never happened in Florida. Never happened in Tennessee. Never happened in Texas. Never happened in Oklahoma. By the way, you know what all 5 of those states happen to share? Republican governors. Democratic governors get praised. Republican governors get destroyed. Florida, Ron DeSantis has been raked over the coals. The rate of death in Florida is almost identical to the rate of death in California. How much has Gavin Newsom been praised for how he's handled things in California? That state is still shut down. They're making illogical decisions. And Ron DeSantis, who is almost nobody's talking about it. I'm not talking about politics necessarily, although I do think the media should call things fairly, call balls and strikes. But the reality is, when you actually look at the data, all of these southern states, which opened up, and everybody said, oh, look at the rednecks in the southern states, they're all going to fall apart. It hasn't happened. Let me give you another example. The state of Alabama. I don't think anybody out there, Roll Tide, War Eagle, I don't think anybody out there would say Alabama and Auburn fans are known for what great physical condition they're in. Even if you're in Alabama right now, watching or listening to me, I think you're laughing at the idea that your state has a ton of great physical specimens. There's a lot of deep fried stuff in Alabama. There's a lot of fat people, all right? Not one person under the age of 50 has died in Alabama from the coronavirus. Not a single person under the age of 50. Also, 95% of people who have died in the state of Alabama have died from or pre-existing health conditions. It's almost unheard of to have a virus that has zero impact, by and large, on young people. We got to get young people back to school. Every college should be open this fall, and every single person out there, okay? Every single person out there needs to have their kids back in school as well. And look, people out there, I say this, okay? I say this as a father. I got a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old. I love my kids more than anything on earth. This August, they're going to be a 7th grader, a 4th grader, and a kindergartner. They need to all be back in school. If they're not all back in school, my wife might actually end up killing them, like a lot of parents out there who are having to homeschool their kids. There are a lot of arguments about school. I don't know that the Travis household can last for another semester with mom in charge of homeschooling. Okay? Just tossing it out there. And dad ain't going to try either. Why don't you take it over? I ain't going to try. Dad's not even going to step into that void. I got to work too much. All right? Kids need to be back in school. I wouldn't send my kids to school if it was dangerous. I love them more than anything. They got to be back in school. All right. Several different other things that are worth talking about. The NBA. I want to give props to LeBron James. Yes, you heard that right. I want to give props to LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant and all the other NBA players who got on the phone and said, we need to get back. We need to get back, and we need to get back sooner than later. This is what leaders do. They look at the data and they make decisions. The NBA players are not in danger. Almost zero danger from playing in the NBA. They need to be back playing basketball. And credit to the stars in the NBA for trying to make that happen. And also, credit to Adam Silver for making an important statement, which he's building on the precedent set by the UFC. And that is, if you test positive, you are pulled out. It's considered to be like the flu. We treat you for it, but we're not going to quarantine every team. We're not going to shut down everything. Okay? That is the easy decision for the NBA. They need to be back sooner rather than later. Same thing is true of Major League Baseball. I understand some players don't want to play, and they've been active on social media. But Major League Baseball, a 50-50 split makes sense. If the data continues to move, in a good direction, it's possible by August, baseball fans could be back watching. But even if that doesn't happen, a 50-50 split is very fair. Very fair to the players, very fair to the owners who stand to lose a lot of money. Hopefully we come back. You don't know what the money is going to be, but this is not complicated. You just go ahead and share the actual data with the teams and the players about how much the revenue is, and then you pay the players based on how many games you play and what your total revenue is. This is not difficult. It makes an awful lot of sense. Italy. Remember Italy? Remember all our friends in the coronabros who were like, bro, Italy, exponential growth. Remember all the people out there, all the coronabros who would sit around screaming about exponential growth? The only thing that's grown exponentially in this country is the unemployment rate, by the way. and also the food line, the food truck line, the food bank line. But remember how they all sat around talking about how America was going to be Italy and Italy was a disaster? Italy has virtually stopped all of their outbreak, and Serie A, their soccer league, is going to resume play on June 13th. Italy, patron saint of coronabros everywhere, is opening back up on June 13th to allow Serie A soccer to return. That is, if I've ever seen anything, a testament to how quickly things have turned there and how ridiculous the behavior of the state of California is. That Italy is now returning Serie A soccer to the to everyone out there. So this is a huge sign about Europe. By the way, in Europe, many countries are sending their kids back to school. They're opening up the entire economies. We need to open up our economy too. They're already sending people back to school there. LeSean McCoy. I want to finish with a funny quote. Did you see, spoiler alert, Sean McCoy spoiled Avengers Endgame, LeSean McCoy did, for a massive crowd of people out there when he said, "Rip my dog Tony Stark," before almost anyone had actually watched the Avengers Endgame movie. And he got destroyed. He got absolutely destroyed by everybody all over social media. And then Tony Stark, he talked to Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football and described that as, quote, "That was the worst decision of my life," okay? That was the worst decision of my life, said LeSean McCoy, who set out a year, but also said, "Rip my dog, Tony Stark." And this reminds me of several years ago, I had my then like 5-year-old on the show sitting in my lap, and he's a huge Star Wars fan. And it was a lot of fun to go watch Star Wars with him. And he said on this one of these shows, he said Han Solo dies. And most people didn't know that anybody was aware of the fact that Han Solo was going to die in the movie. And so that was absolutely hysterical because no spoiler alert from my son. He just dove right into it. So NBA needs to come back. Major League Baseball needs to come back. MLS needs to come back. The NHL needs to come back. Arizona and Florida have the right idea. California has lost its mind. Congrats to Italy on Serie A returning. And LeSean McCoy, pretty funny line. I appreciate all of you. My name is Clay Travis. We will continue to dominate on Outkick. I appreciate all of you for watching the show. Tomorrow on the radio show, Joel Klatt's going to swing by. Shannon Spake on the return of NASCAR. We will talk with Dr. David Chow about the latest on the coronavirus, and Frank Isola will be back with us as well. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for hanging out with me. Props to the governors of Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, and Georgia for making difficult decisions and the right decisions for all of their people. And props to the NBA for coming and making a decision about getting back. Major League Baseball needs to do the same. Love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow on radio. I'm going out to dinner tonight in Florida for a 10th straight day. See y'all. Kisses. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP.